It took a lot of chopping and sawing to build up the middle section of this country. This time around, it's back to the heartland. Tinley Park, Illinois, and Chicagoland, the best lumberjack sports competitors in the United States. The U.S. Championships, the STIHL Timber Sports Series. The biggest stage for the best choppers and sawyers in the country, the STIHL Timber Sports Series presented by Ram, and here we are at the U.S. Championships 2016, Tinley Park, Illinois, in the Chicago Southland area, and we begin the final two legs of this journey. 20 athletes are qualified for the semifinals. We now split them into two pools of 10 each. In this round, you have one objective: finish in the top four. That's the way you make it to the finals. Tommy Sanders here with Kevin Holtz. 6 chopping and sawing disciplines. Kevin in Pool A. And leading the way is the man everyone has their eyes on, and that's Matt Coger, going for a 4-peat, the first time ever for an American.
Well, and here's what makes Matt Coger so consistent. It's his emotional neutrality. He approaches everything with an even keel. So along with Matt Coger in Pool A is another one of my favorite picks, Walt Page. He is one of the few guys in this field, and he just has that same sort of emotional flat tone where he just takes everything in stride.
All right, can anyone catch Matt Coger? A lot of qualified guys chasing him today on the first semifinal program in the STIHL Timber Sports Series U.S. Championships, presented by Ram. Here's how the scoring breaks down. 10 lumberjack athletes competing in 6 different disciplines. The top time from each discipline is awarded 10 points. Last place is awarded 1 point and 0 points for a DQ. The top 4 in points, total points, will move on to the finals. We're ready to go with maybe the toughest event of all the disciplines, the springboard chop.
In the springboard chop, in the STIHL series, we use aspen or poplar trees. On go, everyone starts and they'll put a pocket in, down at about 3.5 feet off the ground. Normally 4 to 6 hits is a good pocket, and you put a board into it, get up on that board, put another pocket in at about 6 feet off the ground. Another 4 or 6 hits, get on that, and the first to sever the block on top is the winner.
Well, let's get you up to speed on how we got our time to beat in our first heat of the springboard. It would feature 4 veterans: Richard Jordan, Mike Forrester, Daryl Weekland, and Mike Slingerland.
But Forrester is putting on a clinic.
And it would be Mike Forrester taking the top time in just under 1:13. On pole number 1, Matt Slingerland of North Carolina. That was his dad, Mike, we saw in heat number 1 of the springboard chop. Pole number 2, Matthew Bolton, Canandaigua, New York, has competed in the past in timber sports. And the first man ever, if he can pull it off, win this time around. STIHL Timber Sports U.S. Championship presented by Ram. Be the first time an American has done a 4-peat in this event. Our defending champion, Matt Coger.
The heat of Matt's here. You know, I'm a little bit biased in this one. I am watching Matt Bolton. He currently lives and spent a lot of time 1 town away from me in New York State. And it's great to see him come back to the sport. He came through the college ranks. Obviously, all eyes on Matt Coger, our current reigning champion. And, of course, young Matt Slingerland looking to best the time that his dad laid out in that first heat.
Time to beat's 1:12.77 laid down by Mike Forrester in heat number 1.
Yeah, look at this. Bolton up, pole number 2 just ahead of Matt Coger. Matt had to do a little finger broom in there and clean out some chips. Koger, though, has got it reeled in now. Oh, trouble for Bolton off that second board.
Down off the second board. Was looking good. Was almost blow for blow with Koger up until that point, but now Matt Koger's absolutely going to town on that block.
Trouble for Slingerland, too.
Quick turn for Matt Koger, and this will not be long before that block comes up, and there we go. Super competitive time, 54-13 unofficially.
Watch how deep Matt Koger wades into the front side of this block. Look at the back, though. One down, one up, one more to clear that last chip, and then he cleans it off.
Well, Matthew Bolton's going to come down with a minute 47.99. Matt Slingerland with a minute 38.86. And Matt Koger, one of the best times recorded this year, 53.65.
No, it was a good start to today, you know, just to get the heart pumping, the blood pumping too. So 54, that can be improved on a lot. You know, I was fumbling around with chips in the back of the pockets and stuff, and chips weren't really moving out of the way, so I had to take some time to put those away. But yeah, it'll be time to make a 40-second cut later.
Sort of an East Coast, West Coast setup in our final heat, the springboard chop. There's a man who was definitely a part of the equation last year in the chase for the championship 2015. Nathan Waterfield of New York. Rob Weibel, the perennial from the West Coast, probably in his third decade of competition, steel timber sports. Walt Page of California, out of the college program at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and the time to beat is a 53.66.
You know, I'm looking for him to repeat that again here today.
Ready.
Walt has the sort of emotional numbness, much like guys like Matt Koger. I think you've heard of him, our a potentially four-time champion, working towards it anyways. And Walt has that ability to kind of shut the emotion out of it, put in a clean cut, but trouble on that first board. You saw, Tommy, his left toe is nearly jammed in the pocket with the board. He does not have confidence in that board. He's losing leverage. That's fine on this first board set. But when he gets to this second board, he's got to be able to get all the way out to that little wood cleat at the end of the springboard. Look at the other two competitors in this heat, though.
Well, Walt Page certainly making up some time for a few little sort of miscalculations at the start, though, but he's going to really have to hustle, and he's not going to do it. He is not going to beat the time already laid down by Matt Koger.
You can see he's worked himself right down to a V as he gets into the back of this block, but both these, Weibel with a glancing.
Wow! Nathan Waterfield might have nailed him right at the very end there. We're going to wait for the replay, unofficial time, about a minute 3.
I am just astonished that Walt Page was able to reel in Nathan Waterfield this much after a very weak first board. Let's watch this replay here to see if we can pick a winner. Look at that. Waterfield, he's going to be captain split second now after New York City last year in the standing block chop, and now he just bests Walt Page.
That's good. Second place, it's good. That's where I want to be, but my focus is one event at a time, competing against myself. And that's most of the time I beat that cut all day long. So that's a loss for me.
The final heat may have been the top seeds, and they were able to hold their own except for the top spot. Matt Koger hangs on to that for his win, picking up where he left off at the end of 2015. But right after that, Nathan Waterfield, Walt Page, and Rob Weibel in that order for the top 4 spots. And of course, the top 4 is where you want to wind up at the end of the day. At this point, after a single discipline, Mike Forrester is the first man out. 1 discipline down, 5 events to go. Coming up next, we put away the axes and crank up the chainsaws. Motorsports fans, get ready. 2 men, 2 machines square off in the stock saw. And later, what kind of gift did you give your spouse when you got married? We'll meet an athlete who used his skills and knowledge to give his wife a wedding present for the ages. The Steel Timber Sports Series U.S. Championship from Tinley Park, Illinois is underway.
The Steel Timber Sports Series on ABC is brought to you by Ram, Guts, Glory, Ram. Duluth Trading, designed and tested by tradesmen. And John Deere, nothing runs like a deer.
How great it is to be in Chicagoland this time around for the STIHL Timber Sports Series. So much to see and do. We had a chance to hook up with some of the city's finest for a very important history lesson.
Well, this historical building right here is located 202 East Chicago Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. Engine 98, it was built in 1902. It has a lot of rich history. Everything in here is original. All the original woodwork is in here. The original brass pole is in here. And pretty much everything in here is still in place, is still intact. We've been taking care of it since 1904.
Just south of downtown Chicago in Tinley Park at the Tinley Park Convention Center, it's the STIHL Timber Sports Series U.S. Championship. Today, 10 Lumberjacks vying for one of the coveted championship spots. Only the top 4 will move on, and right now, defending champ Matt Coger sits atop the leaderboard as we head into our second discipline, the stock saw.
This is the stock car racing in timber sports. 2 equally matched STIHL MS660-1 chainsaws are timed, tacked, and tuned to be within hundredths of a thousandths of a second of each other in the wood. 2 matched 20-inch guide bars and 2 factory ground chains are on these saws, so the only variable between the bunks is the operator.
Just around the Ram logo right now.
In this contest, 16 inches of wood will be severed with 1 down cut, 1 up cut. Competitors trying to move slow and smooth, keeping the saw in the wood and feeding it wood as fast as possible.
Let's get you up to speed on how we got our time to beat. In our first heat, it would be Matt Bolton taking on Nathan Waterfield. And it would be Waterfield besting Bolton, setting the time to beat at 11.94.
That was not a winning run. Hopefully that's mid-pack, but anytime you're headed towards the line, you start to panic and you're steering the saw, turning it. The saw can only cut so fast when you're steering it away from that line.
Next heat coming up in the stock saw, it's going to be Matt Slingerland going up against Daryl Week.
All the competitors here today wearing their PPE, having their equipment in place, ear, eye, and leg protection. And of course, they have to have a safe start with the saw as well. You see Daryl Weekland with the saw pinned down to the ground. Matt Slingerland holding the saw between his legs. 3 points of contact is the safety rule. Both these guys clean to the wood. Listen to the saws. Listen how consistent they are through the block.
Slingerland strong.
Yeah, you're going to hear that little bog down, a little pull down. I think that was Daryl Weekland's saw. I'm guessing it was Daryl Weekland's saw as he came up short in that heat.
Fast start for Matt Slingerland, and he comes out on top. Walt Page comes into the second discipline, the stock saw, in third place, Ram overall points. That's him on stand number 1. Stand number 2, of course, the number 1 man in points, Matt Coger.
Tommy, this was always a discipline that I loved when it went well, and I was always relieved when it was over because so much happens in such a short window of time, and the tiniest mistake on your part is irreparable. Wow, Walt was to that wood. Both these guys were to the wood exceptionally fast. I can't believe the pressure that Walt was applying on the top. Look at these guys through the top.
Oh, I think Matt may have got him. Matt may have nipped him right at the end.
Felt it on the changeover.
Watch both these guys coming down through the block. Matt Coger on your right, Walt Page on the left, both with exceptionally quick changes. Walt just seems violent with his changes. A little bit of a wobble there from Walt Page. What a race.
There he is, Matt Coger, just taking him at the very end there, 11.66. A second overall points right there. Walt Page in 11.86. Good, tight racing here at Tinley Park, Illinois. With one more heat left to go in the stock saw, Pool B, Mike Slingerland. Position 1, Rob Weibel, position number 2.
Hands on the wood. Hands on the wood. Get set.
See a preference difference here. Mike Slingerland standing with the block of wood to his left. Rob Weibel, oh wow. Oh, Rob Weibel stopping the chain on stand number 2. Aggressive with that switch. Holy cow, I don't think I've seen that in a long time. An epic amount of force from Rob Weibel. He knows it. You can see how that worked out for Rob Weibel. See a little foot shift there from Rob. I don't like to see that with the competitors moving their feet around. Just something as simple as that. Look at, he came way down out of that block, shoved it back up in, recovered, didn't stall, and then stalls the saw.
Well, Mike Slingerland's 11.78, good enough for third place overall. Son, Matt Slingerland, the man on top when it's all said and done, 11.34. Matt Koger picks up third place points and Richard Jordan in fourth. Taking a look at our RAM overall points with that win, Matt Slingerland slides into fourth place. Remember, only the top four move on to the championship round.
I'm a second generation competitor. My father was a world champion back in the 80s. On Father's Day a few months ago, I met with my dad right after a competition that Matt won the all-around for. And he was talking about it, and he was so proud that I did so much more in the sport than he did, and that now Matty is doing so much more than I ever did.
15 years of having one of the top competitors as your teacher, you know, you can't help but be right there.
Welcome back, and here's kind of a head scratcher. We referred to this earlier. What do you really give your intended for a wedding gift? It could be a hard one to figure out, but for Walt Page and his home up in the Sierras, he had the perfect gift in mind for his wife-to-be, Caitlin, one that utilized his lumberjack skills.
We're headed up to the place where Caitlin and I used to live, where the barn is we got married in. Caitlin wanted to, she'd mentioned something to me about having a barn wedding. And I needed a training area too, so it worked out well for me. So I spent the spring before the Still Series chopping wood and rebuilding a barn.
It was pretty much falling apart, so it was quite the task for him to do, but he did it from the ground up, milled the boards himself for the barn.
I saved a lot of the roofing tin, reused a lot of it. There's a little section of new steel over here. It took about 4 months to build the structure.
And it was right before the Still Series, the first time that he was in it. So he had to work, train, and build the barn before our wedding. So he was very busy during that time.
I rode to the Still Series with David Moses and Brandon Sergei. We drove there, and then I couldn't drive back with them. I had to fly home because I was getting married 4 days, I think, after the Still Series got done with. So I had to fly home and put the finishing touches on the barn, and then we got married.
He'll do anything for anyone, and the barn was just something that I said I wanted for the wedding, and he just hopped right up, and him and his brother redid it along with the help of some family and friends. But it meant the world to me to be able to have a wedding in a barn that he built. It just made it really special.
The Steel Timber Sports Series U.S. Championships underway just south of Chicago at the Tinley Park Convention Center. Today, 10 lumberjacks are battling for a spot in the championship. Only the top 4 will move on to the next round. Right now, the father-son duo of Matt and Mike Slingerland battling on the bubble, while defending champ Matt Koger is cruising towards the next round. As we head into our third discipline of the day, the standing block chop. Let's get you up to speed, see how we got our time to beat in the first heat of the standing block. It would be Richard Jordan, Rob Weibel, and Daryl Weekland squaring off in a 3-way dance, and it would be Rob Weibel taking the win and setting the top time just under 26 seconds. Here we go, a father-son matchup here, including Mike and Matt Slingerland on either end of the stage here, and right in the center is bucket man himself, Nathan Waterfield.
All right, gentlemen, timers ready. Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Father-son bookend Waterfield. Waterfield, an exceptional standing block cutter, and he is not wasting any time on this block. Slingerland, the out Mike around first, opening 2 and 2, excuse me, 1 and 1. One up hit, one down hit, big chip comes out, clears the wood. It looks like Waterfield, though, has what it takes. Look out, top of the block for Mike, flying off towards the edge of the stage. Check out this slow-mo shot of Waterfield's block. You can see on that near hit, the top of that block wiggles and twists just ever so slightly. That opens up the firewood for him to finish it off.
Nathan Waterfield, no nonsense, zipping right through that block to take over the top spot with a time of 21.27. Mike Slingerland, 23.74. Matt Slingerland down at 26.89. Matthew versus Matthew in this one. Our points leader, Matthew Koger, by 5. Coming into this discipline, going up against Matthew Bolton, whom you say has been doing some pretty good chopping recently.
Yeah, and springboard did not go well. He had a micro meltdown on that second board set, and
right,
some part of my psyche, I said, good. Because you knew there was going to be a rookie meltdown.
Okay.
Let's just get it out of the way in the first discipline. This will be a chance for him to kind of redeem himself if he can psychologically hold it together. 2 and 2, putting in very quick hits. He has to go back and pick up that far down hit. Koger around to the back, about 2.5 hits ahead of Bolton. Look at Koger, though, just grenading the top of that block. Bolton reaching far, one more round of chips, trying to drive too soon, though. There it is, goes back for one more. Koger showing why he is our multi-time U.S. champion in that standing block chop.
A little bit ahead of that, but not by much.
Matt Koger in the back of the block. Here's where the risk comes in for Matt Koger. Just attacking this block with downward drivers. He has to be 100% precise and chase each hit down that same curve, that same line of the axe.
Final heat here, Pool A, Mike Forrester. Block number 2, position number 2, going up against Walt Page. The time to beat Matthew Koger, 17.07. Best time this season is Walt Page's 18.60, so it's not the best time this season so far.
Timers ready. Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Mike Forrester, Walt Page, both West Coast guys. Forrester just blistering this block right now. Walt Page, long, lanky arms, brings the axe from a mile away. Both these guys turning in unison. Remember, Forrester had a respectable finish in the springboard, but then fumbled in the stock saw. Page, Forrester, it's Page! Front side of the blocks went fairly uniform for these two competitors, but it is the back that fell apart for Mike Forrester, and not in a good way.
There's your final results there in the 17.07 by Matt Koger. Kind of hard for the rest of this field to deal with there. Walt Page with his 19.51, the only other man under 20 seconds for second place. Waterfield and Forrester round out the top 4. There are your overall points for Pool A. Remember, only the top 4 advance to the finals. Matt Koger leading the way with a comfortable margin. As it stands right now, then it gets pretty tight. Walt Page, Nathan Waterfield, Mike Slingerland in that order, and son Matt Slingerland, the man out 2 points behind his dad. Halfway done with our competition, and the tension begins to build for these athletes as they battle for one of the 4 spots in the championship. Next, a race pitting man versus man, each equipped with 6-foot racing saws. Watch as they throw their entire body into the single buck. Right now, it's time for our John Deere Legacy moment as we look at another inductee into the Steel Timber Sports Hall of Fame. He may have been compact of frame, but he certainly packed a lot of power, agility, and competitive zeal into everything he did in the world of timber sports. Carson Bosworth.
When I first came into the sport in the early 90s, it was Mike Sullivan, Rollin Esslinger, Mel Lentz. That's all you heard. The first tournament I went to in Webster Springs, I saw all these guys, and in the final heat of the standing block, his small guy in stature, Carson Bosworth, I thought, who is this Carson Bosworth?
Carson's going for the drive, and there it is.
Carson was a tremendous competitor. In fact, Carson
You know, I look at Carson's body type as a little bit similar to mine. He was a shorter guy, a little bit stocky.
He was the Tasmanian devil when you would get him on top of the springboard. Once he was up on that top board, whether it was a good board or not a good board, he just powered through, man.
Carson Bosworth coming off first in this heat, a minute.
I don't know what he weighed, but he chopped like he was 300 pounds out there.
9.9. Carson's going for the drive, and there it is.
He was an excellent single sawyer.
14.61, the unofficial time for Carson Bosworth, and that'll put him in the lead.
Carson has been competing, as I understand it, basically forever. Not a giant guy, but a guy who gets every ounce of horsepower out of himself to produce good outcomes, and who all the time is giving it hell.
1.56 a time to beat. Oh, unofficially 50.55 seconds. That's unofficial. The STIHL Timber Sports Series on ABC continues, coming to you from the Chicagoland area. Our defending champ Matt Koger is on a quest to get his 4th U.S. title. Right now, he's sitting atop our leaderboard at Ram overall points. Remember, only the top 4 at the end of the day will move on to the finals. Fans at home, now pay close attention. If you want a Gator, we'll be giving one lucky fan a John Deere Gator XUV 590i crossover utility vehicle valued at over $10,000. Or a chance for other STIHL equipment prizes. Head over to STIHLTimbersports.com where you can enter for a chance to win. You can also enter for a chance by following us on Twitter at twitter.com/timbersports and answering one of our weekly trivia questions, along with using the hashtag Timbersports. Enter online now. You could be riding a John Deere Gator soon. Ready to go now with our 4th discipline of the day, the full body workout known as the single buck.
The single buck is often affectionately referred to as the misery whip. With times approaching 12 or 14 seconds to get through a 19-inch log, the fastest sprint in timber sports. Competitors use a specially tuned, race-only crosscut saw that has been laser cut and hand-filed. Back and forth through the saw, the cutting teeth and the rakers work to work the wood fibers out as an oiler and wedger keeps the cookie from pinching on the saw. Fastest time, top to bottom, wins.
Let's get you brought up on how we got our time to beat. In the first heat, it would be Rob Weibel taking on Richard Jordan. And it would be Jordan taking the win, setting the top time at just under 17 seconds. Mike Forrester in the foreground right there. Second heat, the single buck. Poulet going up against Walt Page.
All right, gentlemen.
We saw these two go head-to-head in the standing block where it was advantage Page. Forrester on a bit of a meltdown in some events, did not cut well in the stock saw or the standing block. He is another horsepower sawyer, sort of just muscling through. Where you look at the finesse and technique from Walt Page, there it is though, Forrester horsing off the bottom of that, avoiding disaster.
So Mike Forrester and Walt Page take over spots 1 and 2. Forrester with a time of 14.26. Station number 2 back there, Matt Koger currently cruising along. Ram overall points a comfortable lead over a second place Walt Page. Going up against the man who's hanging in there in 4th place, Mike Slingerland.
All right, gentlemen, timer's ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
Matt Koger all the way over on stand number 2 on the right side of the stage, getting some support from his dad, Paul. He spent a lot of time up in the North Country, up around Quebec City, getting a lot of coaching from J.P. Mercier. But in this case, it's advantage Mike Slingerland. So Mike Slingerland will tell you a lot about mass and how he is just absolutely bursting with awesomeness. Watch the last push stroke coming up right here as he horses down through the bottom. He was fully committed to ending that cut right there. If it didn't go on that push stroke, he was done for. There was no recovering from that.
Mike Slingerland will look back at this heat right here, the time when he took down our last 3 years champion, Matt Koger. A great effort there, 13.08. Matt Koger turning up 3rd in the single buck after that one. Well, we are going to settle the North Carolina State Championship no matter what happens in this heat right here. We've got Daryl Weekland and Matt Slingerland, and these two Tar Heels are both chasing our leader right now, who is Mike Slingerland,
right,
with a time of 13.08.
Contestants
we
ready.
saw Mike Slingerland step
3,
out as
2,
Matt
1,
Slingerland was getting set up. Maybe some words of advice for his son. Look at the pace that Matt Slingerland is bringing to stand number 2. Oh, but it fails him in the middle of the wood. I've never seen him bring this ferocity to this block. Unbelievable pace. Did not take down his dad according to the unofficial time, and most likely the inhibiting factor was that hang up in the middle.
Well, there you go, North Carolina 1, 2, 3. Mike Slingerland, Matt Slingerland, and Daryl Weekland taking top 3 positions, top 3 points totals right there. Mike Forrester hanging on for 4th place, and Nathan Waterfield dropping down to 5th.
But being in the same pool, it's a little bit, I have mixed emotions because it's really looking like only one of us is going to make it. And I thought this was his year. Maybe we'll both make it, but I wish he was the one that was making it instead of me, to be honest. But I'm not going to lay down for him either.
So total points with 2 disciplines left. There's Matt Koger heading that train in the right direction as he's trying for his 4P here in 2016. Mike Slingerland moving into the 2nd place spot there, tied with Nathan Waterfield. Walt Page in the 4th position, and Matt Slingerland, the son of Mike Slingerland, there in 5th place. So tight competition. This one's far from decided yet who the top 4 will be. When we come back, our last chopping event of the day, athletes compete in an all-out sprint where axes land just inches from their feet. The underhand coming up next. The Steel Timber Sports Series U.S. Championship underway just south of downtown Chicago from Tinley Park, Illinois. And with that win in the single buck, veteran Mike Slingerland sits in 2nd place in Ram overall points. Only the top 4 move on to the finals. Ready now for the final chopping event of the day, the underhand. Here we go, the last chopping event of the day and the 5th of 6 disciplines. The guys in Pool A, we're starting out with 4 of them. Daryl Weekland from left to right. Next to him, Richard Jordan, Mike Slingerland, and Nathan Waterfield.
3, 2, 1, go!
Here's a batch of guys that I would definitely classify as underhand cutters. I'm watching stand number 3 though. Mike Slingerland is riding high on that single buck win, and he's turned quick, he's putting in big hits. Waterfield's definitely gonna give him a run for his money. Waterfield, a very clean technical cut, a small hang up, 1, 2, 3 down, has to go back for a 4th. It is Waterfield to take the heat. Nathan Waterfield put the work in on the front side of the block, and he was able to cash that in on the backside. You see there he goes top, punches it in the guts. This one was supposed to hang out the bottom. It didn't quite make it. He had to go back and play pickup sticks. One last hit at the bottom, got the job done.
I hung up in the block, and my opening blows really on both sides. When that happens, I tend to go to conservative, make sure I just cut it off in a good time and not really get a bad time. Hopefully it doesn't bite me.
Nathan Waterfield hoping to hang on with a 21-56. That's the lead so far. When you think about this sport, you think of all the different positions, all the different approaches to the wood that these guys take, but it's all built on a firm foundation. A firm foundation, by necessity, must include the right pair of shoes. Let's just get to the bottom of this with another Duluth Trading Company, Adrian Flick's Flick Facts.
Looking around backstage, in addition to the axes and saws, the other thing there's a lot of is shoes. You say, competitive lumberjacks, why aren't they wearing boots? Don't they need to be worried about safety? This is an athletic pursuit. This is a sporting event. And so most of the competitors are either wearing a soft-soled indoor soccer type shoe or a field cleat that has been ground flat and had spikes installed.
When we come to a contest, we normally have 3 different sets of shoes. We have a set of shoes that we chop in, which are either volleys or bands. I use bands. Most guys use volleys. Then we have our spikes. Those spike shoes can vary from a soccer spike. I'll use wrestling shoes where I have actually put corks in them. And then we normally have a heavy boot, just in case the chain would come off and smash our right foot. And so normally 3 sets of shoes, it's a lumberjack shoe bag.
Each one of those choices, it's up to the competitor, it's up to them for each individual event, but it is never, never heavy logger boots.
We're 3 across in this second heat of the underhand chop. Mike Forrester on the left. Mike Forrester currently in 6th place. Graham overall points in the pool. Pretty important one for Walt Page. He's on the all-important 4th spot right now. So he'll do well to perform well in this. And of course on block number 3,
timers ready.
Matthew Bolton.
Surprised to see Walt
ready.
on the bubble.
3, 2,
I think a lot of people had him pegged to really give Matt Coger a run for the money. And at this point, he's in jeopardy not making the finals. Holy cow, Matt Bolton is around at around the 10-second mark. He is either going to make a statement in this underhand chop or bury himself quite deep. Walt Page doing the job though on the front. Matt Bolton showing us once again, you gotta do your homework on the front side of that log. Walt Page turning way behind Matt Bolton. Clean hit on the backside. That axe is working in that block, but I don't think he got the job done. Walt Page spends a little more time, invests in the front of that block, and it pays dividends on the back. Man, did he clear a lot of wood on the bottom back.
Walt Page with a 21.88 officially, good enough to take over 2nd place. Points, we got 1 more heat left to go in the underhand. Here we go with our final heat here. Station 2 to start it off. It's Matt Slingerland. Matt definitely in the points picture. Rob Weibel, the center block, and our leader. And overall Ram points, Matt Coger.
Timers ready.
Block number 4.
Contestants ready. 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, certainly a marquee matchup in the underhand chop for this pool. These guys synchronized cutting. Now the rhythm starts to fall apart. It is Coger around first, opens up 2 hits, 2 more, clearing out huge chips. Matt Slingerland behind on Coger, but cutting a clean block nonetheless. Matt Coger in 18:23, showing on that unofficial clock.
And Rob gets the last fight result.
Matt Coger 17.85, enough to take the top spot and solidify his spot in the championship round. As we head into our last event, the remaining 3 spots are up for grabs as Nathan Waterfield, Matt Slingerland, Mike Slingerland, and Walt Page hover around that bubble position. To solidify a seat at the championship, these Axemen will have to perform in our most dangerous and unpredictable event of the day. Lumberjacks attempting to maneuver 60 horsepower machines with chain speeds over 200 miles an hour. Get ready, the hot saw is next.
The Steel Timber Sports Series on ABC is brought to you by Ram. Guts, glory, Ram. Duluth Trading, designed and tested by tradesmen. And Dinty Moore. Lumberjacks eat more, Dinty Moore.
We are down to our final event at the first of 2 knockout rounds of the Steel Timber Sports U.S. Championships. Tommy Sanders along with Kevin Holtz, only the top 4 move on, and right now Matt Coger, the only athlete to solidify his spot. He's moving on to the championship. 3 spots remain as Nathan Waterfield, Matt Slingerland, Mike Slingerland, and Mike Forrester are all in striking distance as we head into our most unpredictable, unforgiving event. 60 horsepower modified machines, it's time for the hot saw.
The hot saw is contested when lumberjacks have been left in the garage too long over a cold winter with too many extra chainsaw parts, snowmobile parts, and little extra time.
383 cc's of alcohol-fueled fury.
A perfectly good dirt bike gives up its heart and soul to power a chainsaw. From 250 all the way up to 383 cc's, competitors try to make 3 cuts, 2 down, 1 up in 6 inches, allocated on a 19-inch white pine log. What has started as innocent racing tradition has become sort of the mad scientist Frankenstein part of timber sports.
How about that?
Time should be in the 5 to 6 second range as these contestants try to move basically a galloping horse at 65 horsepower up and down as smooth as possible.
Let's get you up to speed and see how the push for the championship plays out in our first heat. Sitting on the bubble, Mike Slingerland takes on Matthew Bolton, and a costly error would end Mike Slingerland's U.S. championship dreams.
He said he choked it by putting his belly on the car.
I can see it. There's a bunch of fuel right there.
This is a kind of not complimentary at all, but basically I'm too fat to run a hot saw now. I came down, I was standing a bit too close to the log, and when I picked the saw up, I had to pull it to myself to make the cuts, and I choked the saw out on my stomach, with the carburetor being right there. So I need to have a cage on that so that it gets oxygen even when someone my size is running it.
Nathan Waterfield, Mike Forrester, ready to tee it up. Nathan Waterfield in good shape here. Second.
Timers ready.
Overall points coming into the hot.
Hands on the wood.
Hands on the wood. Get set.
Uh-oh, trouble though for Waterfield. Forrester is off and running. Waterfield saw sounding exceptionally well once it fired. I'm not sure what went wrong though at the start. Let's go back and look at this hang up for Nathan Waterfield. No, there it is. The starter cord, the knot of the starter cord did not release. He finally gets it gathered up, gets his foot on the expansion chamber, just gives it a warm-up style start and gets his 3 cuts.
Mike Forrester, the best time so far with that effort right there, 6.78. Rob Weibel holding on into second place. Nathan Waterfield took him a while, but he's got a time. It's posted 14.27. Heat number 4 of 5, ready to go right now. Pretty important heat for Matt Slingerland. But what's important for him? Lay down 3 cuts. Get yourself a time in the books and you're in. Going to the final. Going up against Richard Jordan.
Big sigh to settle the nerves for Matty Slingerland. Watch the disaster unfold for his dad. He certainly wants to do better than that.
Hands on the wood.
Hands on the wood. Get set.
Hesitation. The hesitation, the bobbles on stand number 1, trouble on stand number 2, but if we were to delete the eon of time that went by for Richard Jordan and just look at that cut, unbelievable.
Got the nod from Rich Hallett. Got a time, he's going to the finals. Well, there you go, Nathan Waterfield. He's in with a 14.67. Now Matt Slingerland in with an 11.56. Didn't have to do anything special. Just had to make 3 cuts, but gave us a little drama nonetheless.
Woo! You got a big smile on your face, what? First time in the finals. About time, about time.
5th and final heat of the hot saw for Pool A here. Matt Koger, doesn't really matter what he does. Doesn't really matter. 3 cuts, no cuts. He's going to the finals. But Wallpage, different story. Wallpage will have to make 3 cuts, post a time to be automatically in there. Otherwise, he'll fall back in with Mike Slingerland. Again, Matt Koger's time inconsequential. This only important as a prelude, a preview of what might happen with him when we get to the next round of competition, and that's going to be the finals where he's trying to win for the 4th time in a row.
If I'm Matt Koger, I've got 3 brand new Ram trucks. I'm going for a 4th. But regardless, if I'm Matt Koger, I'm going to use this, like you said, this is going to be a full-out training run. I'm on the stage. I've got the lights on. It's going to be the same starting cadence. I'm going to go for this. I'm going to try to win the hot saw event. There's no reason to play it safe.
Get set.
There it goes. A near bobble for Matt Koger on stand number 2 as he went for that third cut. He had to kind of double clutch on the that third down cut. Double check with Rich Hallett, make sure he didn't actually make contact. Let's take a look at it here in the replay. First to the wood by a long shot.
Walt Page gets the nod with this effort right here.
And watch here, the transition from second to third cut. Comes down, he did make contact with the top of the block, but because it was kind of in line with the third cut, he essentially dropped back into the same or similar slot, and that third cut should be a complete cut.
And there's the final official times right there. Mike Forrester coming out on top with a 6.78 earlier on in the competition. Matt Koger, second place, just to absolutely devastate everyone in the semifinal round. Rob Weibel, third. Matthew Bolton picking up third with a 7.43, but the time posted by Walt Page, an official time posted by Nathan Waterfield, the time posted by Matt Slingerland, means those are the 4 who continue on to the finals. Matt Koger, Walt Page, Nathan Waterfield, and Matt Slingerland.
It's time for the Ram Guts and Glory moment.
Wow! Walt was to that wood. Both these guys are to the wood exceptionally fast. I can't believe the pressure that Walt was applying on the top. Look at these guys through the top.
Oh, I think Matt may have got him. Matt may have nipped him right at the end.
Wow, what a race.
Congratulations to these 4 from Pool A. The next time we see you here in Tinley Park, Illinois, another group of 8 hopefuls trying to make it to the finals of the Steel Timber Sports Series U.S. Championships.